Okay. Mr. Kemple, take it away.
Everyone gives their consent. And okay, thank you, Executive Director Debbie Souza. It's my pleasure to call the February meeting of the Mass Mortgage Bankers Association to order. This is our first meeting of 2022. I'd like to begin by welcoming the members of the Board of Directors, our nominated directors, and the members of the Association of MMBA who've joined to help us conduct a peaceful transfer today. We have a pretty short agenda for this business meeting, and we'll begin with a report from our treasurer, Mr. Greg Korn. Greg?
Thank you, Mike. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I'm pleased to report that the MMBA is financially strong. 2021 and 2020 were challenging years for the association with very few in-person events, but luckily we were fiscally conservative in the past and had money in the bank and continue to have a good balance sheet. I get a motion to accept our treasurer's report.
Second.
So moved.
Any opposed?
The motion is
The
approved.
treasurer's report has been accepted.
Nice. Okay.
Debbie?
Yes. So this is my favorite part. I think of the annual meeting. So it is my great pleasure to present to you, and I have things to read. So this is official. So the nominating committee presented the slate of 2022 officers and directors that were emailed to you on January 2nd, 2022, in accordance with the MMBA bylaws, Article 5, Section 2. I am going to read the official slate. And as I do, when I call your name, if you can maybe wave so people know that it's you, that would be great. So, Chair, Phil Tocci, Academy Mortgage. Chair-elect, Gregory Korn, MGIC. Treasurer, Ryan Hayes, Mortgage Network. Secretary, Ben Giamara, Embrace Home Loans. Immediate past chair, Mike Kemple, Bluestone Bank. Directors, Ann Antonellis, Duxbury Mortgage Services. Shane Bellavance, Stoneham Bank. Sarah Blake, Digital Federal Credit Union. Daryl Caffey, Webster 5 Cent Savings Bank. Chip Coveney, Eastern Bank. Don Dawson, Salem 5 Mortgage Company. Michael Kelleher, Easy Applications. Richard Hogan, Caddick. Cherie McCarthy, National MI. Rosemary O'Neill, US Bank Home Mortgage. Jeremy Potter, Stavvy. Jennifer Roach, Freddie Mac. Shanika Rogowski, the Cooperative Bank of Cape Cod. Maureen Wilkinson, Harbor One Bank. And Barbara Yankee, Bank ESP. So at this point, according to our bylaws, I am going to gaze into your eyes and see if we have any nominations from the floor or my computer screen. Oh, seeing none. Are there any motions before this meeting?
I make a motion to accept the 2022 slate of officers and directors as presented by the nominating committee.
Any seconds?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, perfect. So all those in favor, can you wave? Oh, I think I see everyone waving. Yes, I see everyone waving. So, and of course there was no one in opposition. So therefore, we are official. So now to make you really official, I would like to have all of my officers and directors raise their right hand.
No.
Do you solemnly swear that you will carry out your duties as officers and members of the Board of Directors of the Massachusetts Mortgage Bankers Association to the best of your ability and judgment and in conformity with its bylaws?
Who will?
I will.
I do.
That you will observe and enforce its code of ethics.
I will.
Will.
That you will, in all your acts, be guided by the principles of honesty and fair play.
I will.
Will.
And that in every manner you will promote and safeguard the best interests and welfare of the membership and the general public.
I will.
I
will.
will.
By virtue of the authority conferred upon me, I hereby proclaim you to be duly and officially installed and inaugurated as officers and members of the Board of Directors of the Massachusetts Mortgage Bankers Associations. Oh, congratulations, everyone. I'm so excited. Thank you. Yay, they're awesome. And so now I would like to turn this over to our brand new 2022 chair, Phil Tocci.
Well, thank you, Deb. That was a very nice introduction. Well, thank you, everyone. It's certainly an honor and a privilege to serve alongside each of you and also to serve the association as we navigate these waters of 2022. I'm hopeful that we can all network a little bit more in person versus remote. However, knowing this group as being as professional as they are, we'll do just fine. Before I go on any further, I'd just like to thank Mike Kemple for his leadership over this past year. He's a great friend and a really great mortgage banker, and I just want to thank him publicly. I also want to thank Deb and Jen for their support. And as I said, I look forward to working with the board on behalf of the association, and looking forward for us to expand a little bit more at our next meeting on what I envision and what I see lying ahead of us for challenges. So without further ado, I think I'd like to turn this over to Richard Tassay for a legislative update. Rich?
Greetings and congratulations to all the new board members. I watched the way that Deb conducted that meeting. It reminded me of the State House in a way. With one slate, no opposition, gavelled the new group right in without any trouble. Happy Groundhog's Day to everybody. This is actually a day at the State House that's sort of similar to Groundhog's Day. It's Joint Rule 10 Day, and it's the day that all the bills that get filed at the beginning of the session that have been sitting around in committees are supposed to be, anything that's still around in the committee is supposed to be released today. So it's a busy day at the State House, and it is sort of like Groundhog's Day because a lot of these bills get filed every session, every couple of years, and a lot of times they meet the same fate over and over again. So it's kind of funny that it works like that. I just have a couple of things to report on. We have two issues right now that are sort of hot that we're right in the middle of. And Deb is always asking me, what are the things that we need to be watching between now and the end of the session? And there are three items in that regard. But for the pressing issues, the first one is the whole reverse mortgage counseling issue. And just in a nutshell, years ago, the legislature passed a law that said any reverse mortgage that's given out in Massachusetts, the seniors who would get the mortgage are required to have in-person counseling. And the reason they did that and didn't offer any other alternatives is we didn't really have video conferencing at that point. So when the pandemic came along, the governor issued an emergency order to say that video conferencing was okay, and it would be accepted. And we worked off of that for a while. Then the legislature passed a temporary law allowing for the video conferencing. We worked off of that, but that temporary law ran out on December 15th without the legislature acting or an extension being granted. So we have been working with the House and the Senate leadership to try to make sure that this is extended so that people who do reverse mortgages can do business. And the issue really is you can't find anybody any counselor in the state. I think there are only 7 of them in the entire state that do in-person counseling. So we have attached an amendment to a supplemental budget that has passed the House, and it's another version has passed the Senate with our amendment in it. And we're waiting for those 2 branches to reconcile their differences. And when they do, our language to extend this till, I think, July 15th will be a part of it. So hopefully there is a crisis right now that if you do a lot of reverse mortgages, you really can't do anything unless you can somehow get a in-person counseling session, which is almost impossible. So we're hoping to have this resolved this week, to have the legislature done this week and have a bill go to the governor. The other issue that we're dealing with is remote notarization. And I just have Jim Eisenberg from our office on. A lot of people know Andrea Costa works at Preddy. We have a team at Preddy working on a lot of these issues. And Jim Eisenberg is part of our team. He worked for Speaker DeLeo. He was the Speaker's chief of staff, worked for Speaker DeLeo for 19 years. The whole time he was Speaker and Ways and Means Chair. Jim is the brains of our organization, and I'm going to just turn it over to him just to give an update on the remote notarization bill. He's been working on this.
We might be in significant trouble if that's the case. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate that. And congratulations to everybody. And thank you for letting me join you this morning. So in terms of where we are on Ron, thanks to the work of Debbie, and I see Sarah Blake here from DCU, who is also very instrumental in this, we were able to work out some compromise language on a permanent extension of remote online notarization, so a permanent bill. That text of that compromise legislation has been in the hands of the 2 chairs of the Judiciary Committee and from both the House and the Senate. And we have received nothing but good comments back on it so far. Had the opportunity to speak to the House Chairman and folks in the Senate as well. And it appears that we are on track to move forward with the bill. With this caveat, which is that in the supplemental budget that Richard just mentioned, there is also an extension of the RIN provision, remote in-state notarization, that had been in effect and had also lapsed on December 15th. The legislature decided to extend that provision out 6 months in order to give them more time to consider the Ron bill, the permanent bill. And it was the Judiciary Chair's feeling on the House side that it would be better dealt with after the supplemental budget was concluded. So that bill is in conference committee. Both chairs have indicated that they're trying to get it done as soon as possible, potentially even next week, depending upon how things go. There is money in there for COVID relief amongst another, about $55 million for COVID relief and some other provisions in there. So they are trying to get that done. And it is our hope, and we have been told that we should see action on our compromise legislation out of the committees soon thereafter, once the supplemental budget is wrapped up. Obviously, with the legislature, the word soon can mean different things to different people. So we need to stay on that, and we will continue to do so. But as of right now, we appear to be on track and have addressed concerns from many, many different stakeholders who have been engaged on this issue. And I think that there's a lot of appreciation for that from the folks at the State House.
And if I can just say, we would not have, Aaron, got this far. But I kind of view this as at the 5-yard line right now. Were it not for Deb Sousa bringing everybody together, it was kind of difficult to do because you had, just on our side, we had mass bankers, we had the credit union. Not everybody is as forward thinking as our group on the issue. So it just took a little while to get to the point that we're at. Also, Jim mentioned, Sarah, Blake from DCU. They played a huge role in getting us this far. And Rich Hogan, who's out there, who's been on more than one conference call trying to help us come up with language that was agreeable to everyone.
Agreed.
So we're almost done with that. The other three things that we're they're in the background, but we're just keeping our eye on them because they're all important in one way or the other. And I'm going to do this, in the least to most. There is a bill out right now to give local communities the right to reinstitute rent control in Massachusetts. If you remember, Boston and Cambridge had it years ago. It was there was a referendum question in the 90s that eliminated it in Massachusetts. Now there's a big push out there by a lot of housing advocates to pass a bill to allow communities at local option to reinstitute rent control. I don't think it's going to happen this year, but we need to keep our eye on it. It does get a lot of attention. There was a hearing at the State House, I want to say 3 or 4 weeks ago. There were about 360 people who testified in favor, a lot of local officials in favor of reinstituting rent control. There were 4 groups who were against it. So the legislators hear about this all the time. And it's just, we got to keep our eyes open for it. The second issue that we just really want to be on the lookout for is a real estate transfer tax. There are about 11 different bills in the legislature that have been passed by local government, cities and towns, asking the legislature to allow them to institute a transfer tax anywhere from 0.5% to 2%. Some of them require the seller to pay it. Some of them require the buyer to pay it. Some of them provide exemptions for first-time buyers. Some of them provide exemptions based on income. There's a whole hodgepodge of bills, and the communities range from Provincetown to Brookline, pretty much all over the state. Mayor Wu, just proposed a home rule petition that Boston is going to send into the legislature, basically saying that any sale that takes place in the city of Boston they want to implement a 2% tax over 2 million. So any proceeds over 2 million you'd have to pay an additional 2%. She's estimating that will raise about 99 million, almost $100 million, and that money would be put into affordable housing programs. So that is on its way to the legislature as well. In the meantime, what's different this year than in past legislative sessions is there's a group that's formed. It's called the Mass Transfer Tax Coalition. It's about 50 communities, leaders, and nonprofit groups, housing groups that are all pushing the legislature to pass a broad-based bill to allow any city and town in Massachusetts who wants to implement a transfer tax to be able to do it without having to get legislative approval. This issue has been around for a while. This is really the first time that you've had like a broad coalition like this. And what kind of gets, this really on my radar, and people should pay attention a little more than they have in the past, is that Partners Healthcare recently came out, and they never really get involved in issues that don't have anything to do with healthcare directly. But they came out and endorsed this bill. The bill is Senate 686 and House 1377, and really threw their weight behind this bill to allow local communities to implement the transfer tax. From our perspective, the lenders and buyers, it would create a whole hodgepodge of, you'd have to know, if you're selling a property in a particular community, what the exemptions are. It wouldn't be a uniform thing across the state. I think it would add a lot of confusion and cost to ultimately the buyers. The other issue that I want just to bring up, and we've talked about it before in the past, is this bill. It's called right of first refusal. Some people refer to it as TOPA. And what it basically says is that if you own investment property or any multifamily unit in Massachusetts that you are not occupying as the owner, and when you decide to sell, you have to notify the community, and the tenants in the building would have an opportunity to organize, and they would be given the right of first refusal under this law. And basically, they would have 30 days to let the owner know if they want to buy the property. And if they don't move ahead, the owner can go out and get an offer. But once they have an offer, they have to go through a whole process that's dictated by the state, which could take an additional 10 to 12 months.
Oh, my God.
Add that on to any sale. The state pretty much mandates how you have to deal with financing. It sets a schedule, for the transaction, whether it be the purchase and sale, the financing. They're all prescribed by the legislation in timetables. So it's going to make it really difficult for people to be able to sell property, especially like if you're in a short sale situation or you just need to unload a property. Say you have two offers, one of them is a cash offer, one of them is 95% financing. You have to treat them both the same. It just adds a lot of monkey wrenches in. This is actually in place in Washington, D.C. It's called TOPA. So a lot of the housing advocates are pushing for this. And, there's a lot of pressure right now on legislators to do something to help ease the affordable housing crisis that we have in Massachusetts. And they're looking for different things, to sort of latch onto. Last session, this came out of nowhere. It was attached to a supplemental budget, and it made it all the way to the governor's desk. And fortunately, Governor Baker vetoed the bill. But what the legislature did is they waited until the last minute. So the governor vetoed the bill and the legislature went out of session for the year. So they couldn't take up the override. So we really made it like right under the wire. This session, we have to really be vigilant, and we have to really explain to, it just sounded good to a lot of legislators. Well, yeah, why not give the tenants the right of first refusal? But this, creates all kinds of problems. In DC, it's actually created like a cottage industry because there are a lot of attorneys that just wait every time somebody files something at City Hall to sell a multifamily property. They'll run over to the property, knock on the doors, organize the tenants, and basically hold the seller hostage, and the seller has to pay out to all the tenants, whatever they end up negotiating in order to sell. So it's, and in Washington, D.C., nobody's building multifamily housing anymore. They are doing it sort of on the outskirts of, Virginia and Maryland, surrounding areas, because it adds such a kink in the sales. So we might need some help with members, especially the board, just educating a lot of the representatives and senators, because a lot of them don't have any idea how the whole sales process works, and just the difficulty that this will throw into it. So the legislative session ends July 31st, and we're watching these, playing beat the clock. Fortunately, it's easier to stop something from happening than to get things done. And in these three cases, we want to probably stop them from happening at this point. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Deb, did I miss anything? Or?
No, we're good. We're good. I think we're all set. Phil,
And
do
we
you
had a
have
great
anything?
year. Yeah, and thanks for everybody last session. We did get that, governor's housing choice bill passed. I know a lot of the organization as a whole and a lot of people individually lobbied their legislators. It's in place right now, and it's actually, the provisions are starting to catch on, and more housing should be coming along as a result of that.
All right, well,
I have a
thank
quick
you.
question for Richard.
Okay.
Sorry, I had a call come in. Richard, here in Swampscott, we're losing 31% of our open land to 2 projects going in under mass housing 40B. It's sort of a disguise, but they're all rental units. So like they're 280 rental units. Is there anything we should be aware of or can do locally for better? That really doesn't help the mortgage industry as much as being rental to help promote housing or condos or anything, or are these rentals just going to come if you're near a commuter rail or something along those lines?
Well, part of the housing choice bill gave communities a little more flexibility to, and actually prodded them to create zones right around the train stations for, to create multifamily housing districts. And, so you see that happening in a lot of communities. The 40Bs are, always kind of difficult because there isn't a lot of wiggle room for the communities under the program. And a lot of communities like to do the rentals because all of the rental units in a project that's approved under 40B end up being counted towards the 10% goal that communities need, to be exempt from the requirements.
Okay. Anyone else?
If you want to call me just on that particular issue sometime, I'd be more than happy to talk about it. I'm not aware of the particular projects.
All right, anywhere else? Okay, well, I would like to, Phil, did you want to say anything else?
No, I just want to thank Richard and Jim for giving us the update. As you can all see, it's one of our greatest strengths is our legislative being proactive and our actions taken. And it seems like we have a big year ahead of us again. So thank you both for joining us. Deb, I'll hand it back to you.
All right, perfect. I just wanted to thank everyone on the call. I know it's Groundhog Day for everyone, but for us, it's like, you've been cramming for finals, and today with Joint Rule 10, you figure out which ones are going to have legs and which ones not. So it's an exciting day for us. But you will begin to see us start to have in-person programs. We are excited that we are planning on having a celebration part 2 of our annual meeting in either late March or early April. We are very excited that we are going to be, we have 2 very special guests. We have Dave Brennan and Bob Lavelle that will be joining us at our annual meeting celebration. So part of it is, when are we ready to get back as a large group? And then the other part is avoiding births of grandchildren and traveling to Florida and all of that, kind of merging that. So as soon as we can schedule that, and yes, we do have a grandchild being birthed by the Lavelle family. So as soon as we get all of that, we will look for us to announce it. And finally, if I may, I'm going to spotlight someone. Let me just see. She's not going to allow this. She's not going to spotlight. There she is. Sue Quilty. She technically is going off the board this year, and we will recognize her further in March/April whenever we're in person. But I just wanted to say how awesome Sue has been. We're actually not 100% letting her go. And if you or any of your staff would like to join us on February 8th, we have a HMDA program with the CFPB. But anyway, so Sue, thank you so much for all you
Thank you,
do
Deb.
and continue to do. So, so on
Thank you.
that, so on that note, I think our job is done. So I thank everyone for their time, and I look forward to seeing you in the future, hopefully face to face. Congratulations to our brand new board, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
you.
you.
See you.
Thank you,
Bye,
Mike.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.